This is Angela Grayson from the Loving Life Fitness podcast to help others in their fitness journey. All possible.
It's time to wake up. Here we go.
This is Angela Grayson from Loving Life Fitness. I am your host today, and I have somebody with me who is going to help you live your best life. His name is Clinton Ford. He's from First Fire Boxing in Ormond Beach, Florida, and he's going to provide some insight for us today. Hi there, Clinton. How are you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me. How are you?
I'm doing great, Clinton. What I'd like to talk to you about first is your journey in fitness, going way back, as far back as you can remember. What was your life like in the area of health and fitness?
Well, I kind of always grew up around very active individuals. I would go outside and, back then there weren't any iPods. There was a few video games, but that was usually for rainy days. And most of the time we spent outside. And I can remember my earliest memories where there was a group of guys that were living across the street from me. They had a weight set in the basement. I grew up with 3 sisters and I had no brothers, and they were all older than me. So a lot of times I would spend time over there, and they was probably like 6 brothers. They're down there and they're hitting the weights. And, I'm just a young guy, probably about 7 years old. I just started asking them like, hey, what is this? What can I do with this? And so that just sort of carried me in the beginning till my middle school days. And I started wrestling in middle school, and I played football, and I dabbled in basketball a little bit. But it really got serious in 2002. I had a car accident, which put me in a concussion, and I was kind of going in different directions in my life, and I decided I wanted to join the Marines. And so for that, I had to, really start to focus in on diet and nutrition and working out, because I wanted to be the best Marine that I possibly could be. And I wanted to start off squadron leader. And I had some really good recruiters. They kind of coached me along the way. So, my dad had just left for Florida, and he was powerlifting at the time. And we would just exchange information over the phone and all of that. And as I was going through my training, my sisters ended up calling my dad and was like, oh, he's going to the military, he's the only boy, what happens if blah, 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 because this was right around 9/11. And so I pretty much had told my dad when he called me, like, hey, kind of got my mind made up, Dad. I've been working out, focused, I'm eating this and that. We've already been talking. So he goes, well, why don't you give this a thought? Why don't you come down to Florida and I'll pay for your college, your first semester? And so I said, Dad, I don't know. I still, kind of got he said, just give us a thought. So I prayed about it. On the day that I prayed for the answer, I was in Florida, and they had no record of me ever swearing in nothing. The recruiter stopped calling me. It was just like it was divine. And then once I got down here, me and my dad linked up, and we were working out every other day. When he had an off day, workout. That just pretty much shaped me to start going to different gyms. I actually, a couple years later, started teaching. Well, actually, I was just a front desk receptionist at a gym here locally. I don't know if you're familiar with Omega 40 on Granada, used to be. It was a family-owned gym, and I started just being a receptionist, checking people in. And then when the opportunity came up, because the master instructor for the boxing program had gotten sick, and so they asked me to sub in. And so I subbed, and I did terrible. I didn't have the right flow, the right music, the right everything. So I ended up studying another instructor that was there, and just kind of seeing, what he did, how he got the crowd into it and got them engaged. I came back and taught the class again, and that was pretty much history. And the class started to grow and grow and grow and grow to the point where they were like, Clinton, you're going to have to open up your own gym one day. I was like, that's a thought. But, at the time I was working for a company and I was going up the corporate ladder. So it really wasn't like a strong thought for me. It was more like a, hey, maybe you never know type of thing. I have to say, what was that? 6 years ago? Here I am now with a gym, and we've been in business for 5 years now, and God is good.
Story. And what I like about what you just said was that your family really was a big influence right from the beginning, your sisters and then your dad to help him work out and mentor you with your programs. You don't have too many dads that work out with their sons. They're usually working out with their friends or in sport. So that's pretty amazing that you had your dad there to help inspire you in the field of fitness. Did you pursue your education at all in nutrition and personal training?
Absolutely. So what it was is when I was going to college, I was actually going for supervision and management. And it was basically like, as I was going through that, because that was actually a requirement for my next level in the company that I work for. They wanted you to have a bachelor in something. And then that was like a check mark. I went for supervision and management because I was already in management. I was in management of the company. And I just started taking like some nutrition classes on the side because I wanted to learn more about just human nutrition. I mean, I knew a little bit I read the book that Arnold Schwarzenegger made from cover to cover. And I've read like so many other scholarly journals and things of that nature. I really wanted to have like an in-depth study on just your macros and how your body processes them and digestion. And at that time, keto wasn't around, all the different fads, the Atkins diet, what have you. Yeah, I went and did that. And then, of course, while I was teaching at the gym that I used to work at, I went ahead and got my certification to be a personal trainer. And that's pretty much what kind of put me on the education of having everything locked down in the field that I was going in. So it's good.
Any struggles along the way that you'd like to talk about?
Oh, man. I'd tell you, the main thing was the habit of preparing food beforehand. Now, I've always been great at, this is all I got to work with. So let's say on crunch time and there's a McDonald's here or there's a Chick-fil-A here or there's a Chipotle here. I'm an expert on being able to just go to the right thing on the menu or to alter it to whatever diet that I'm trying to do, whether if I'm doing keto or if I'm doing carb cycling. I was always great at that, but I was terrible at making meals for the week on Sunday and preparing them because by the time I get ready to eat them, the chicken was dry and the salad was soggy and everybody else around me had fresh food. That wasn't healthy, but obviously it looked better. Yeah, so I had to get over that. And the one thing I started doing was just keep it simple. I had to convince myself that it's not about how flamboyant the food looks and all those things are great, but it's about the discipline of staying on track and just knowing that if you eat this, it's better for your body than going and get that quick fix from whatever. Even if it's something that you alter, it's going to have the sodium in it. It's going to have the preservatives in it. It's not going to be anywhere near as good as the food that you prepare at home on Sunday that's dry on Wednesday, but you still got to eat it. You still got to eat it. So that was probably my biggest struggle diet-wise. And then workout-wise, it was knowing when to quit. I tried in the beginning of my workout regimen to do too much in a day. I would do supersets and this and that, and it was sustainable for about 2, maybe 2.5 weeks, right? But then after that, it was like I got burnt out. My mind, I'm thinking about, I got to go to the gym. I got to do all these exercises. When I learned to just prioritize certain body parts together that I knew were complementing each other and just let that be enough. Take those rest days, come back, fully replenished, make sure I'm getting the sleep, and do it again and do it for other body parts. That's when I really started to succeed. Those were individual pain points. The diet and the consistency of the workout was everything.
Personal trainers, we have our struggles
Of course.
where we're no different than everybody else. And
Right.
the matter of figuring out what's best for you and allowing the time for it and setting the goals and taking little steps at a time to reach the place you want to be. Change, right?
Right. Very
Time
true.
goes on, things change, your habits change, you get bored with something, you want to try something different. And
Mhm.
so everything is ever changing. We just have to keep our goals in line so we can keep
It's the
moving
truth.
forward.
It is the truth.
Think for a second about maybe a client of yours that came to you with struggles of their own, how you got them on track.
One of the greatest success stories that I would have to say was it was an individual who was a police officer, and she had just a crazy schedule. I don't know if you're familiar with their work schedule. They work 5 a.m. to 5 p.m., or I believe it's 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Anyway, it's like a 12-hour shift. And then they do that 4 days, and then they're off for like 2, and then they go back onto a 12-hour shift, and it's like the flip-flop. It's like they go in at night, 1 4-hour shift, and then they flip-flop it after 2 days to go in the daytime. So trying to get a regiment for her was extremely difficult because everything looks good on paper, right? We can all say like, all right, cool. You just flip-flop your schedule when you're on nights to go this way, and that'll be fine. We can prepare for that. But we don't anticipate the struggle that may came with that work day, the stress, how you feel, how you might feel run down. So getting through that was a huge struggle. What I was able to do was just implement, again, small changes that led to big results. Everything that's you could possibly use in your toolbox. Keto diet, if you couldn't make it to the gym one day. Let's go low carb this day. Or let's go low carb the next day. Okay, you got time today. Let's do 30 minutes of strength training, and then let's do 15 minutes of cardio, or flip-flop it. 15 minutes of cardio, 30 minutes, vice versa. So it's just knowing that people are human and that you just have to be willing to adapt to whatever it is that fits the needs of the client. And then understanding that the client, once they reach out to you, they have a desire to win. It's not that they're trying to waste your time if they have to cancel or if something comes up, like not getting discouraged as a trainer or not getting impatient, just allowing them to have a little bit of recess, working with them, using empathy, and just encourage them along the way. Like, as long as those things are in place and being able to adjust, it's going to work out, because eventually there's going to be something that's proven to work for you as the trainer and as for the client. And once you find like that formula, it's just a matter of tweaking a few things here and there, and you got it. So I would have to say, and this young lady actually lost 50 pounds in like, I want to say 5 months, something like that, 4 or 5 months. She was doing really, really good. And she had her times where she told me like, hey, I'm going on a cruise and this is what's going to happen. And so like, and I was like, all right, we can go on the cruise. We'll stay away from this, stay away from that. But if you're going to have this, it's all right. It's not going to kill you. So, but yeah, just understanding, having empathy, being patient, knowing people are human, tweaking that schedule, fine tuning it, finding the right mix. Yeah.
And keep it going. Once you get those lifestyle changes, you need to keep it going. Eating, whether it comes to working out, whether it comes to, your job and adjusting so that you can get the rest that you need.
Right.
You have the energy to do life also.
Right.
Because once we start slipping and going back into those old eating habits, that's when we're on that old yo-yo cycle and start falling apart and people get discouraged.
That's right.
I always try to tell my people it's all about lifestyle changes. You're
Right. Yeah.
for the long haul. You don't just
Right.
you expect to lose the 50 pounds and then you go back to your old ways because you'll be back
Right.
again knocking on my door.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
you know.
Right.
Yeah, well, just stay with it. Keep coming. This is good for you. It's good for your body,
Yeah.
your life.
Absolutely. 100%. Yes.
So let's get into what your gym is all about. I know you do boot camp training, you do lots of other things. Talk to us
Yes.
about your place and all the different kinds of activities you have there and why. Why do you do these varieties of activities?
So when you first come in, I like to just welcome people and make them feel comfortable and valued. My competitive edge on some of the more well-known gyms is that, you're not just a number when you come in the first fire. It's a part of a family. And everything is about relationship and trust and building that trust, making people feel comfortable. Because when you're working out, you are a little vulnerable. You don't know everything. And there might be some things that are difficult to do, some exercises that are difficult to do. So that's the first thing I try to do is make people feel welcome. It's a 3,600 square foot facility. I have a fitness studio with your traditional gym equipment, machine weights. I have a daycare for kids. I also have 25 heavy bags. It's 2 levels, so people are spread out and have room to maneuver. And then I also have a cross training room with some more unconventional type of exercises and training, such as sleds and tire flips and being able to do pull-ups on your rigs, rope climb. I do the sledgehammer, just everything that would kind of break the monotony of a normal workout. And then also I have a smoothie bar. So the smoothie bar is there to prevent people from going to a fast food restaurant after they work out and just give them that quick fix protein shake or tea or whatever that their fitness requires or their fitness program requires, like to lose some weight, drink a tea or supplement it for a shake, etc. Yes, and that is pretty much it. I try to make it as versatile as possible. I tell everyone that, don't judge yourself by another person's activity. Modify if you need to. There's a lot of people who come that have had pre-existing knee conditions, back conditions, etc. So what I try to do is when I'm giving demonstrations, give them the modified version as well as the regular version so that they are comfortable doing it the way that they are able to do it physically. And yeah, we have our dialogue afterwards and tell me how much they don't like me. But then I like to congratulate the people who made it through the class and just make it feel like a family. A real family when they're involved, just getting it done. And then I also loop them into a group, a Facebook group where we can have some dialogue on nutrition, sort of like a Q&A thing. That's it. Just real natural, organic gym, something that you probably wouldn't find at commercial facility. That's what I offer.
I'm sure a lot of people come there wanting to burn calories and lose weight.
Yes.
And, the punching bags.
Yes.
They're also kickboxing or is it all?
Yes. So what I do is the boot camp style classes are what runs Monday through Friday, but I also do step aerobics on Wednesday. I do a weightlifting class on Saturday. And then one-on-one, I do traditional boxing and or kickboxing if someone desires that. So it's not designed to get you in the ring immediately, so to speak, but it's more so just technique, proper form, making sure that you are hitting the bag correctly, throwing the jab, your footwork, your guard, those things. And just kind of get you in the door so that if you did want to go down that direction, actually competing, you could because you have the basic fundamentals to do so. Yeah, but everything is mostly weight loss, tone, and just fitness because I'm really big on people getting their numbers right, cholesterol, and getting their blood pressure down and making sure that they're not risk for any pre-diabetes or anything like that. I really try to tackle those chronic illnesses that are sort of plaguing a lot of Americans right now, because I'm pretty aware of that coming from the background with the company that I used to work for. So it's definitely part of my mission.
So somebody comes into your gym and you know that they do have some concern to lose weight. They have an issue with, let's say, diabetes is one of those, or other condition could be a heart condition. You have periodization schedules, protocol that you would go through to maybe work them up to where they could join your boot camp classes eventually?
Absolutely. I love to start people off with one-on-one training just so that I can get a understanding of what their limitations are and then kind of guide them in the class. Hey, what we're about to do is exponentially beneficial in this way, but it might be a little challenging for you per se. And then you just kind of go through the ropes that way. I love doing it that way. That way, I also kind of have an understanding of how they communicate and what their personality is like. So then I can kind of put them on a bag that fits them and kind of introduce them into the class in a way that they would enjoy and not feel embarrassed or put on the spot or what have you. Yeah, the one-on-ones is definitely, they're the way. If I would have a perfect pathway for anyone to start. But if you already know someone that's taking the class, that's fine too, because they're going to already kind of give you the ropes of anything that I possibly missed, and you'll just feel warm and comfortable that way.
So let's see, how many people usually in your boot camp classes?
Right now, it's because it's the summertime, it's anywhere from 8 to 18, maybe 20. But once it gets cooler, the average is like 15 per class, 12 to 15. And then it can go all the way up to 30, just depending on what the class is. A lot of people enjoy, I do a circuit class on Wednesday where I'm in that cross training room that I mentioned to you about, just because some other people might have a membership at another gym where they do weightlifting or they do yoga, and they kind of are just looking for something different, 1 or 2 days out the week. So they'll go do that on Wednesdays. And then there's that leg day class on Tuesday that everybody seems to love and hate at the same time. That can be a very popular class as well. I think I've had like 30, 35 people, something like that in that class. So yeah, we make it happen. We make do. Everybody's comfortable, and we spread out if we need to, and it gets done.
Have you ever asked your clients whether or not they enjoy small group classes compared to the large group classes?
That's funny you say that. In the Facebook group, they have automated messages that you can put on like a time schedule to ask questions and engage. And one of the questions that they had was something similar to that, like, what do you like most about such and such? And so I kind of reworded it in a way that was kind of similar to what you just asked. And the response was really, really surprising, because some people said that they liked a large class because they like the energy, right? They like the energy coming from everyone, and they like to see so many different types of physical fitness levels. And then some people like the intimacy of a smaller class, because I get a little creative when there's not a lot of people there, because you have more space, you have, more equipment that you can utilize. So to make up for the lost energy that might have been there with all the other people that would have been there, normally are there, I try to make up with doing something creative. So that puts a spin on it. It makes the small class like a golden ticket, but then it also makes the large class the most popular item, I guess. But that's a great question, though. It's funny you asked that, because I just dealt with that the other day.
Yeah, and I wonder too if, one of the two gets better results in a faster amount of time, whether it be strength, whether it be cardiovascular, which one gets better results. And with a smaller class, you can pay more attention to how people are doing. Adjust your class according to that too, without them even knowing. With a large class, everybody, this is what we're doing, and you do it to the best of your ability. If you can't, we can do it that way. And that's just the way it is.
Perfectly said.
And of course, the best benefit of all is the one-on-one training, although,
Right.
because you can really zone into that one particular.
Right.
Well,
Right.
could it be as much fun or can it?
Yeah, like there's that. I don't know. I think it just depends on what type of person you are. But again, you pay for that exclusiveness. That one-on-one training, it's optimal because all of your focus is going to that one client. So anybody who has any questions about should I do this or should I do that, man, the one-on-one is the way to go because you're going to get every ounce of energy that your trainer has and all of their knowledge and their focus and their attention on you and that time. So whether it's 30 minutes, 45 or an hour, that is your time uninterrupted. It's great. It's ideal.
And you can notice their alignment. You can notice they're doing things incorrectly. You can correct it right away so they get
Right.
benefit. Okay, so the benefits of kickboxing, boxing, men and women.
So we all know that heart disease is the leading cause of death in America. I mean, it's more people are just gonna have some type of cardiac arrest, and that's usually what takes people out of here. So when you talk about boxing and kickboxing, that's the first thing we have to address is the fact that you're working your heart, the largest muscle, most important, the endorphins that come off. Oh my gosh. We talk about chocolate being like so satisfying, and we talk about certain types of other foods and what have you, and getting the satisfaction and the joy of it, man. The endorphins that come off of that mix of being able to move around a little bit, but hit a target and sweat at the same time. And then you got, great music and somebody screaming in the background. It's just great. It's like Jubilee all over the gym. So I've had several clients who have gotten blood work and gotten their blood pressure in good ranges, cholesterol down, glucose numbers in great shape. That's one of the main things that keeps me sort of doing it and going is because I can see not only the immediate effects of someone just being in a better mood and having that like a mood stabilizer and being able to release and get those endorphins and look great, all of that. But the long term as well with the chronic conditions that we all have to fight basically because what the foods that we eat and the environment, even some of the things that are passed down through heredity, I couldn't think of a much better workout for me. It does a lot. And then it puts you in a fighter mindset. It changes your way of thinking. Everything becomes a fight. And it becomes how am I going to outmaneuver this opponent, whether it's schoolwork, laundry, dishes, like it could be anything. Like you'll notice how your mind starts to think of things as just an opponent that you have to outsmart, outmaneuver, outlast, and it works.
That's interesting. That could be a life-saving thing when it comes to career and relationships and
Absolutely.
dealing with any kind of problems that come up in life. I never even thought of that when it came to boxing. I had read an article that it increases confidence and you feel empowered, releases stress, improves cardio, builds strength, lose weight, and also makes you feel more confident with your self-defense. You ever need that?
Yes.
I never thought for a second about what you just said about dealing with struggles and feeling like it's a fight and you can accomplish anything if you put your mind to it.
That's right. Yes, definitely. I've had to use that answer key, that way of thinking so many times in my life. And I just thank God that was something that I had in my toolbox. It really wasn't even rehearsed. It just sort of just came out naturally because if you do something day in and day out on another level, it'll start to seep over into other things. And that was just really beneficial for me. And I was able to endure and be consistent and persistent and it did well for me.
But a lot of sports do for people also, whether
Right.
as a kid, college,
Mhm.
and later
Mhm.
in life. Were you ever involved in any kind of sports throughout your?
Yes, yes. So hands down, I had a coach when I was in the 6th grade. His name was Coach Ledbetter, and I never forgot him. He's basically how I developed my coaching style with in addition to my dad. He was my wrestling coach. So wrestling is probably one of the most intense sports that will gas you out quickly if you don't know technique and or if you haven't conditioned yourself properly. So I was in the 6th grade. I never forgot it. We ran for a mile. We did 100 sit-ups, a minute of mountain climbers, 50 burpees, and 50 push-ups. Before we did anything, before before any wrestling, before any of the cool stuff, before you got your helmet and all of your equipment, no. First, give me these 50 burpees, these 50 push-ups, and oh my God. So, I mean, I did play football, play basketball for a bit, but wrestling, I mean, hands down, was the most impactful sport that I've ever played in my entire life.
Did you carry
Yeah.
on with it after middle school?
I did. So I did for 2 years, and then I stopped in 8th grade because I got a job, and I shouldn't, I should have kept going. It's just, at the time, money was tight, and I had to start thinking about working, and I wanted to work. Yeah, so I couldn't do work and play sports at the same time. It definitely gave me a great work ethic, though, even though I wasn't playing sports. But I never forgot Coach, never forgot him. And to this day, I still use his coaching style, and I still do burpees. And
And here I thought that my son got his great work ethic from mom and dad, but you know what? He was a wrestler in high school. Maybe it wasn't in there.
wrestler, man, wrestling is, I put wrestling against any sport because there's no glitz, there's no glamour, nobody sees you when you have to prepare for that match and what that conditioning looks like. So wrestling, hands down.
As a mom, I was always worried about my son when he used to
Mhm.
go and practice and prepare for his wrestling
Mhm.
matches. I used to
Mhm.
worry so much about him because of what the coach put them through. I just
Right.
couldn't believe it. But like you say, a lot of things about life, it instills good
Yeah.
ethics
Yeah.
into you. Yeah,
Yes, absolutely.
a good sport. I was wondering if you might be interested in comparing CrossFit to boot camp.
It has everything to do with technique and form. I do not disagree with any of like the CrossFit ways. And honestly, they have some of the best athletes that are very much in shape. The only thing that I say about CrossFit is that, man, you can get injured really quickly, man. Without the proper form, without the proper technique, it's a very fine line. Where with boot camp, the things are done with maybe less weight, but just done frequently. When you think of a boot camp, you just think of a regiment that you do every day, and it's sort of like a bread and butter thing. But because it's something that you do every day, where it's not maybe as strenuous, but it's just done consistently, you get those results. It's sort of like progressive overload. It's like if you're gonna lift heavier weights or you're gonna do more reps, and that's how you're gonna get that progression of muscle building. I would compare that to CrossFit being like more of a workload, but boot camp being more of like a consistent type of thing. But those guys are tough. Those girls are tough. I know a few that have come to several of my classes, and they'll tell me, no joke, like your class is tough. There's obviously some areas that they excel in a lot more than some of my other members, when it comes to deadlifts, kipping, and squats, and some of those other maneuvers because they're used to using a lot heavier weight. But then there's the other things where we don't take many breaks in my class, in the boot camp class. So, having that ongoing, consistent, repetitious, but fast in between sets type thing. If you're not used to that type of workout, it's going to take you some time to kind of get up to that. Plus, there's the fact that it's usually pretty hot inside there. So I know there's some CrossFit gyms that don't turn on their AC either, or they're in the warehouse. It gets pretty hot at first fire. You have to get over that. But you can, and there are plenty of places that you can kind of relax and modify. If you're gonna be in the big part, you're gonna sweat. You're gonna sweat, and it's gonna be hot. So
is that what called first fire, or is there another reason?
It's funny you asked that. So I actually had a dream that's what the name of the business was supposed to be. It was just like this. It was on a business card. And it said First Fires. I didn't have anything to do with naming it. I just woke up and said, oh, there it is. First Fire. How about that? There you go. And that was before I even had a gym, or that was while I was teaching the classes at the other gym. And so I knew that eventually I was going to have a gym because that name just came up. I was like, okay, there's that.
I wish that all things come to you that easily in your future.
Thank you. Yes, me too. You as well. Holy moly, yeah. Like just go to sleep, and the answer will be right there as soon as you go to sleep and you wake up and know exactly what to do.
Hey, Clinton, what I would like to ask you, if you were to leave our listeners with some goal-setting ideas, what would that be to help them get to that better life that they're dreaming of?
Just don't overcomplicate it, man. Don't overcomplicate it. Don't try to do everything in 1 week. Give yourself steps. Maybe that you know what your go-to foods are for fitness, and you know what you should eat and what you shouldn't eat, but just to try to set up some structure. A lot of times we just the day of, we want to start a plan, a workout, a routine, or whatever. Maybe just try to give it some time before you start to think about what good might look like in terms of a regimen. And then once you get that planned out, then you go into, okay, this is the day I'm going to start it. I wouldn't say to stay in that place forever, but just try to give yourself some planning time. Planning time is everything, because if you don't plan, then the minute something doesn't go your way, you're going to easily get distracted and you're easily going to just fall off. So if you're going to start working out, let's say next week, start thinking Saturday or Sunday, what that's going to look like. What is that going to look like? Do I have enough clothes for the week? If I don't, okay, cool. What do I need to go get? Do I have all the necessary tools? Do I have all the information for the class that I'm going to take, or the instructor, or the personal trainer that I'm going to get with? What does my pantry look like? What does my freezer look like? You can't decide you're going to get in and start working out and you got nothing in your fridge and you haven't went to the grocery store. And so as soon as you finish working out, first thing you got to do is, I'm hungry. I'm going to, go to McDonald's or whatever. So start planning that out now so that the next week you've got all the tools that you need to succeed. And then you deal with everything you have to do on a day-to-day basis. Don't give up. Stay consistent. Don't use the weight scale as the determining factor for everything. So many people fall into that trap, and it could just be that, you're putting on this, but you're losing this. So it's just balancing. But how do you feel? How are clothes fitting on you? Did you enjoy the workout? Those are the things. But planning. Just plan and take it one day at a time.
Excellent words of advice. Okay, listeners, you've heard it from Clinton Ford. He sounds like he's a man who knows what he's talking about. He's a picture of success. So go ahead and sit down, make those plans, set those goals, and just take it one day at a time. Well, thank you, Clinton. I really appreciate you being on the show today. I know these listeners can get a lot of value from everything that you've said, and who knows, maybe one of them will come and visit you.
Sounds good. Yes, and thank you for having me.
This is Angela Grayson from the Loving Life Fitness Podcast to help others in their fitness journey. All possible.
It's time to wake up. Here we go.